Hi, everybody. Welcome to English Digest. My name is Tom.
And I am Stephanie.
And today is our travel unit.
Yay!
And, of course, during the summer, you might consider traveling overseas, traveling abroad, and taking a train someplace. Of course, you can go to different countries and just take a train to wherever you want to go. There are railways all over the world in Europe and Asia and places like that. But there are some special trains that go to special areas, and you might need to make some reservations for them, and they might have special services on that train, and we're talking specifically about one in Canada. It's called the Rocky Mountaineer, and it's leaving the station.
All aboard! That's something that the train conductor would say long ago. I don't know if they still do for the older-fashioned trains. This particular train, Rocky Mountaineer, we understand from our editor that this train is very exclusive, so it's very expensive, but I'm sure it would be beautiful. This is one of my favorite areas of the world, British Columbia, the Rocky Mountains anywhere, whether it's in Canada or the United States, they're just beautiful. So we're going to talk about this particular train, which is very special and exclusive, and why you might want to save your pennies or save up your money to one day get to go on this particular trip. And you'll want to go before the winter because the winter time in this area of the world is very cold and very snowy. In fact, you can't even take a train trip on the Rocky Mountaineer during the winter. So let's get started. It's a 2-day unit. We're going to start by reading through day 1.
Some of Canada's most magnificent sights can be seen in the Rocky Mountains, and for those in the mood for a road less traveled style of adventure, a luxurious train known as the Rocky Mountaineer is the best way to see them. The train, which only travels by day so as not to miss out on any of Canada's spectacular landscapes, offers panoramic views of the Canadian wilderness and the wildlife that inhabits it. While the train cruises along the tracks, knowledgeable hosts entertain passengers with thrilling storytelling and local history. Amid the pine trees and staggering mountain cliffs, home to soaring birds of prey, passengers dine on exceptional meals with a focus on regional cuisine. Between April and October, passengers can choose from 4 stunning journeys to 4 different destinations. The first option, First Passage to the West, is the most traveled route, traversing British Columbia and Alberta all the way to the town of Banff. Along the way are gorgeous lakes and the winding Fraser River. The latter features Hell's Gate, a narrow passage that sees the full strength of the river forcing its way through. The second route, Journey Through the Clouds, brings passengers through remote terrain, which is at times as barren as a desert. Approaching Jasper National Park, passengers will catch a glimpse of Mount Robson, the tallest peak in the Canadian Rockies. On the Rainforest to Gold Rush route, passengers witness lush coastal views before the train climbs into the mountains. As the train passes over and along the Fraser River, hosts describe the area's historic gold rush before the tour pulls into Jasper. Finally, on the new U.S. route Rockies to the Red Rocks, passengers board the train in Moab, Utah, and make their way through the American Southwest with an overnight stop in Glenwood Springs, Colorado, a delightful resort town.
Okay, guys, let's get started. I wanted to look at this phrase in our title, all aboard. I mentioned this to begin with. We actually don't hear this phrase so much anymore, but it was always used to warn passengers, whether they were traveling on a train or a ship or even a boat, to get on because we're leaving. So it's kind of a warning. It just means, hey, everybody, get on now. All aboard. If you see old movies or television series that are set back in time a bit, you'll probably hear this if they have a train conductor in one of the scenes. So all aboard.
Well, if you like heavy metal music, of course, you can listen to the song Crazy Train by Ozzy Osbourne. And he starts the song off by saying this, all aboard!
Is he going on a train to hell?
Could you never know what that guy's singing.
He's scary.
In any case, you might be a fan, but indeed, this is what the train conductor will yell to get everybody on the train because it's about to leave. And the name of this particular train is the Rocky Mountaineer. A mountaineer, of course, is somebody who climbs mountains, and there's going to be a lot of such people in the western part of Canada and the United States and Asia or wherever. So here's how our lesson begins. It says in the first paragraph, some of Canada's most magnificent sights can be seen in the Rocky Mountains. And for those in the mood for a road less traveled style of adventure, a luxurious train known as the Rocky Mountaineer is the best way to see them. So, of course, as you know, there's a range of mountains in North America called the Rocky Mountains, and they are in both Canada and the United States. We're talking about the Canadian Rockies here, and indeed, sometimes traveling to big cities like Toronto or Montreal or New York or Paris, that can be kind of boring sometimes. You might be more interested in an adventure where you go on the road less traveled to a place more remote in the wilderness and things like that. So, yes, if you are such a person, if you're in the mood for such an adventure, a road less traveled style of adventure, then you could consider riding on this train, which we're describing as luxurious. Okay, it's a nice train. It's not going to have hard seats. It's not going to have the smell of diesel fuel inside it. You're not going to have disgusting people walking through, making noise and peeing on the floor of the train or something like that. No, it's going to be luxurious with carpet and nice food and nice people to talk to. And you're going to be treated and you're going to be pampered and you're going to be waited on hand and foot.
Ooh, nice. You've convinced me, Tom. Let's go and get a ticket, go on vacation. I especially like to get out of here when it's so hot. And this sounds like a perfect place to go. But it's kind of hard to travel these days, as you know. So we're going to talk about it and get you excited, perhaps, for a trip in the future. This road less traveled is from a big famous poem by Robert Frost. The Road Not Taken is the name of the poem. But yeah, it's just means, you know, some of these paths and roads that not everybody gets to go on. It's more of a special or exclusive thing to do if you get on this particular train, the Rocky Mountaineer. Luxurious, meaning it's filled with lots of expensive items. You know, you're not going to be traveling with bindong or anything like that. They're going to give you like 4-star meals, 5-star meals, but you're going to have to pay for it too. Luxury brands and items would include things like LV, Mercedes, you call them Benzes here, BMWs, let's see, Prada clothes, if you're into fashion, things like that. Those are luxurious brands. They cost a lot, and, you know, most of us don't have a lot of extra money to be spending on these luxurious products. But some do, and yay for you out there if you have it. But this is fun to learn about, and maybe if you really want to go, you can save up your money and go someday.
And you better make reservations because lots of people probably want to take this trip as well, especially after the pandemic goes away. People are going to be hungry for traveling. Well, the train here in the next paragraph says, the train, which only travels by day or during the day, so as not to miss out on any of Canada's spectacular landscapes, offers panoramic views of the Canadian wilderness and the wildlife that inhabits it. So, indeed, if you miss out on something, you don't get to see something. Sometimes, of course, people want to be involved in everything. So, of course, they're probably on their phones all day long because they don't want to miss out. Hey, that's a phrase, isn't it? FOMO, FOMO, fear of missing out. So, of course, people can't stay away from their phones for more than 1 or 2 minutes. And here we're talking about missing out on the landscapes here. You just won't see them, you won't enjoy them, and that is if you travel at night. So the train travels by day so you don't have to miss out on those spectacular landscapes. And, of course, they'll probably have observation cars, and you'll get panoramic views, which are like wide-angle views, wide from the left to the right. You just see all sorts of stuff in one view.
Those are fun. You're talking about the wilderness where not many people live. There aren't big cities. There are probably little tiny villages. Some areas of Canada really don't have anything. They haven't been developed, which is nice because it still looks fresh and clean and beautiful. So the wildlife that inhabits it just refers to the animals that live in that area. If you inhabit something, you live there. While the train cruises along the tracks, knowledgeable hosts entertain passengers with thrilling storytelling and local history. I love this part of tours the most. Now, we're talking about a train cruising. This is a verb. This isn't a noun. If you cruise, you just move along in a specific area. When I was growing up in Arizona, we would have guys that would fix up their cars and then cruise along Main Street showing off their special cars. Kind of funny. They don't do it anymore, but those were guys who were cruising the streets. Well, this train's going to cruise along the tracks, moving along the tracks as you hear great stories from your tour guide, which I love. If I can get on a tour that has a guide with lots of stories, I'm really happy.
Right, so they'll probably come on the announcement system, the PA, and say, if you look to your left, everybody, you'll see, Well Digger's Gulch or wherever. And in that gulch, it's rumored that a man went there to look for gold, blah, blah, blah. They'll be telling stories like that. So it will be entertaining, and you'll get the thrilling storytelling, and you'll learn about local history as you pass through various parts of the country there. Amid the pine trees and the staggering mountain cliffs, home to soaring birds of prey, passengers dine on exceptional meals with a focus on regional cuisine. So, of course, you're amid the pine trees, or in the middle of them. The train is going through these forests there with lots of pine trees, and you've got staggering mountain cliffs.
Cool.
If something's staggering, it's really noticeable, and they're really high, and they've got rough cliffs and things like that. So, yes, they're jagged, I guess you could say. They're rocky, so you can check out those mountain cliffs, and you'll see lots of soaring birds, birds of prey. Birds of prey, of course, are birds that hunt for snakes and things like that to eat, and they're soaring, they're flying high in the sky. So passengers can dine on exceptional meals in the dining car, and you'll have a focus on regional cuisine. They're not going to serve you burgers and fries. You'll get some really exquisite meals that are local, that come from places that the train goes through, I guess, in Western Canada.
Yeah, I wanted to mention with the staggering, a way you can remember this word, which here just means something that's really overwhelming. It's so amazing. If someone is staggering around, they're kind of walking in an unsteady way. Maybe they had some really bad news, and they can't even take it in. It's staggering.
Or maybe they're drunk.
Maybe they're drunk, yeah. You stagger around if you're a drunk. But if it's used as an adjective here, it's because you're seeing something that's quite amazing. Sometimes it's just overwhelming, staggering mountain cliffs. If you use the word cuisine, guys, make sure you're not talking about your mom's home cooking or, the burger joint down the street or even a pizza. Cuisine is used to talk about usually quality cooking and a style of cooking. And here we're talking about regional dishes, so dishes that are popular in the areas you'll be going through. It sounds nice. Right now we're going to listen to our Chinese teacher, and then we'll be back to continue.
大家好，我是派老师。今天讲解的是夏季刊 Unit16 All Aboard。The Rocky Mountaineer is leaving the station. 大家是否向往北美大陆壮阔的山林？高耸的山峰伫立在辽阔的大地上，指向一望无际的苍穹。如果预算不受限，我很想搭乘 The Rocky Mountaineer， 在豪华列车上饱览落基山脉沿途的风景。今天的文章提供了4条路线选择。好，我们一起来看看学习重点。请看到第一段。Some of Canada's most magnificent sights 这个句子，请同学把 sights 画起来。sights 是可数的，当然所指的也是景色、景致，而相较于 sight 是可数名词，而且我们通常用复数。还有另外一个字也表示风景，但是却是不可数名词，是 scenery， S-C-E-N-E-R-Y， S-C-E-N-E-R-Y。 请同学务必特别注意。再来，请看到逗点之后的句子 And for those in the mood for a road less traveled style， 这边请同学把 in the mood for 画起来。一般而言呢，我们通常就是说有心情想要做某件事情。这里呢，所指的就是对于想要有点探险乐趣，想要走比较少人走过的这种探险风的，有兴致想要来一趟人迹罕至的秘境的风格的冒险者，对他们来说，这个大家称为落基山登山者号的豪华列车，应该是观赏这些景点的最佳方式。再来，请同学看到第二段的第一个句子，请同学特别注意到 the train 后面有一个逗点，再加上个 which 所引导的关系子句。这个的 which 其实也是非限定修饰。我们所指的当然呢，就是前面的 the Rocky Mountaineer， 其实我们不需要任何关系子句再来做区别，所以这边纯粹就是补充说明呢，这班列车它基本上只有在白天才会行驶。那为什么会这样子做？最主要呢，是因为不至于错过 miss out on， 所指的就是错过，不至于错过加拿大壮观的景色，因为天黑了以后什么东西都看不到了。再来，请同学看到第二段的第三个句子，请特别注意到的是在逗点之后 home to soaring birds of prey， 请同学把 birds of prey 画起来。 birds of prey 所指的就是像老鹰之类的猛禽。
We're going to take a quick break. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
All right, everybody, let's continue talking about the Rocky Mountaineer, and it's leaving the station. All aboard! And, of course, this train runs primarily during the summer months, so between April and October, passengers can choose from 4 stunning journeys to 4 different destinations. So, yeah, this is kind of the period of time in Canada where it's not winter, from April to October. They don't run the trains during the winter. There's not much to see, although, snowy landscapes can be quite stunning. But here we've got stunning journeys to 4 destinations. A destination, of course, is where you're going. Yeah, what is your destination today? Well, I'm flying to Sydney, for example. Well, here's the first option. First Passage to the West. Okay, that's the name of the train. It's the most traveled route, traversing British Columbia and Alberta all the way to the town of Banff. So as you know, the province in Canada farthest west is British Columbia. That's where Vancouver is. You'll probably start in Vancouver and the train will head east and it will go through British Columbia. It will traverse British Columbia and Alberta, and then it gets all the way to the town of Banff, which again is in the Canadian Rockies.
Oh, it's beautiful there. One of my favorite places. Traversing is kind of an advanced vocabulary word, but it's good to know. As Tom says, it just means you're passing through a place, you're moving over, along, or through a place. Traversing British Columbia, or BC, as we refer to it a lot, Alberta, and you're going all the way to the town of Banff. They have a beautiful ski resort there that I highly recommend. Now, along the way are gorgeous gorgeous lakes. Yeah, they've got a lot of water up there, and the winding Fraser River. So it's quite beautiful. The latter, and we're referring to the Fraser River. Fraser River is the last of the things we've mentioned. So the latter refers to that. It features Hell's Gate, a narrow passage that sees the full strength of the river forcing its way through. It probably got its name Hell's Gate because it was difficult to actually maneuver or traverse this particular area for people way back when they had horses and buggies and carriages, things like that. Hell's Gate sounds fun.
Okay, so that's one route that you can choose. The second route, Journey Through the Clouds, brings passengers through remote terrain, which is at times as barren as a desert. Terrain just refers to land or landforms. It's quite remote. It's far away from places, and it will be barren. It will be dry without lots of plants. It will be like a desert. And approaching Jasper National Park, passengers will catch a glimpse of Mount Robson, the tallest peak in the Canadian Rockies. So if you catch a glimpse of something, well, you see that thing, especially if it's kind of difficult to see because it's far away, or you might catch a glimpse of a friend in the crowd. Hey, I think I saw Robert there. Yeah, where's he going? And now I don't see him. I just caught a glimpse of him.
I wanted to mention to those of you out there who aren't familiar with the Rocky Mountains, it's a long range of mountains. It's quite long. If we're talking about the part that's in Canada, we'll always say the Canadian Rockies. But for some reason, we never say the American Rockies.
Well, the Canadians may say the American Rockies and refer to their Rocky Mountains as the Rockies.
Ours is the Rocky Mountains. So, yeah, it's a beautiful area. Here is one of our vocab words, guys, glimpse. To glimpse something is to get a quick look. So you don't get a very long look. You can't actually just, gaze upon something. A glimpse is a quick look only. So you'll get a glimpse of Mount Robson. That's the tallest peak in the beautiful Canadian Rockies. So moving on to the final paragraph. On the Rainforest to Gold Rush route, here's another train route that they offer. Passengers witness or see with their own eyes, that's what witness means, lush coastal views before the train climbs into the mountains. So if something's lush, guys, usually you're referring to some sort of greenery, plants. If it's lush, it's very green. There are lots of plants. You would never describe a desert as being lush. Ever. I think there is a soap and perfume company out of Great Britain called Lush, L-U-S-H. I don't know why they named it that, but it's a great place if you're traveling to go get some really nice smelling soaps, for our ladies out there especially. So it's a lush area, and you actually see coastal views, so you'll see the ocean as you're on this particular train route.
Yeah, it probably starts in Vancouver, which is on the coast there. So you go along the coast a little bit, and then it starts heading west across BC and into the Rocky Mountains there. So you're going to see lush coastal views. You're going to have those views, rather, and then you climb into the mountains. Now, as the train passes over and along the Fraser River, hosts describe the area's historic gold rush before the tour pulls into Jasper. So again, you've got the hosts, the people who are taking care of you on the train, and they're also telling stories and describing the history of the area. So those are your hosts. And again, there was a gold rush there, which was historic. They'll talk about that, and they'll tell you all about that before the tour or the train pulls into Jasper, which again is a town in the Canadian Rockies. I believe it's in Alberta.
So finally, the last part, you're going to go on the new U.S. route, Rockies to the Red Rocks. Aha! So this is another train route you can choose, and passengers board the train in Moab, Utah. I'm familiar with Moab. It's more desert-like, but they have beautiful rock formations there. And then once you make your way through there, you're going to go through the southwest part, or the west. You could say it's the American West. I would probably say that. And you'll have an overnight stop in Glenwood Springs, Colorado. Or, as some people say, Colorado. One of my friends who grew up there, she says Colorado. I say Colorado. Both are acceptable. And this particular place, Glenwood Springs, is a delightful resort town, meaning it's got a lot of vacationers, a lot of tourists there. I'm sure the people who live there, many of them make a living providing for the tourists who come into the town. So if you ever see resort town, you know that its primary means of making money is probably hotels and restaurants and things like that.
Yes, and as Americans, of course, we need to talk about Moab itself. It's a great place for outdoor activity, especially because Arches National Park is there. There's some other national park near there, too. I can't remember. I was there about 5 years ago.
Zion's National Park.
Could be.
Bryce National Park, too.
I don't remember what it was.
Utah has a lot of national parks.
Yeah, lots of great sandstone formations in Utah there.
Yeah.
And, of course, you can see the American Rockies there heading east toward Denver. But, again, you get an overnight stay in Glenwood Springs where you can go out and walk around and get a nice meal and stuff like that. It's a delightful resort town. So that's similar to the train in Canada that we were talking about, the Rocky Mountaineer. So, indeed, make your reservations, and maybe you still have time to have such a trip during the summer. Okay, that brings us to the end of our explanation for today. Let's listen now to our Chinese teacher.
接着我们看到第3段，请同学特别注意到第一个句子，在4月还有10月之间，旅客呢有4条路线可以选择。They can choose from 4 stunning journeys. 再来，我们请看到第2个句子，逗点之后 traversing British Columbia and Alberta 这个地方 traversing 指的就是跨越、穿越。再来，请同学看到第3个句子 along the way are gorgeous lakes and winding Fraser River 这个其实也是倒装句，沿途有很漂亮的湖泊以及蜿蜒的河流。请同学特别注意到的是前面 along the way这边呢是副词片语，而后面 gorgeous lakes and the winding Fraser River 才是真正的主词。好，那同学另外可以记下来的是 winding 蜿蜒可以用来形容河流，也可以用来形容路。再来，请同学看到第4个句子 The ladder features Hell's Gate 这个 the ladder 指的当然就是前面的 Fraser River 它有一项卖点特别吸引人注意的地方就是 Hell's Gate 这个景点。好，再来，请同学看到第6个句子，也就是这一段最后面的句子 Approaching Jasper National Park, passengers will catch a glimpse of. Catch a glimpse of 请画起来，就是有机会呢瞄到一眼，一瞥就是可以看得到 Mount Robson。再来，请看到第4段第1个句子On the rainforest to go rush route 这个句子，在这个路线的话，旅客呢有机会看得到海岸线非常茂盛的森林。形容词所用的是 lush 就是有茂盛、茂密、蓊郁的意思。好，以上就是我们针对 Unit 16 Day 1所做的中文讲解，谢谢大家。
That's all for today, guys. We've got day 2 to continue talking about this beautiful part of the world. We hope you'll join us then. For English Digest, I'm Stephanie.
I'm Tom.
Bye-bye.
Goodbye.